hello. Thank you, everyone, for coming to Seoul, Korea, joining us on the Movement stage. It means a lot. We have the Movement team here. We have the Movement ecosystem here. So we have, across the board, everyone that we love and care deeply about. I think when deciding what to talk about today, I was like, I can talk about something super technical that no one's really going to understand and everyone's going to be a little bored. I can talk about Movement ecosystem and show my bags and show Movement ecosystem the entire time. But I decided to do a little bit of both. Talk about what are the technical architecture designs that we're making. Even today, if you guys are following CT, a lot of discourse about what is an L2, what's the difference between Solana L2s, ETH L2s, Bitcoin L2s, et cetera. So first and foremost, I'll introduce myself. I'm Rushi, one of the co-founders of Movement Labs. Background is engineering distributed systems, and I was geeked out about how can we make distributed systems more secure and faster. I think what gets me up on bed is, look, we're all in crypto, we're all transacting on chain, but the biggest issue we're running into right now is user experience. Every year, there's $4.5 billion lost in smart contract hacks, whether you use Curve, Kyber, the DAO, any blue chip DeFi protocol, there's always a risk of being attacked. And that's been predominantly due to the EVM's limitations. We see this in the blue chip DeFi protocols on Ethereum, on layer 2s, even on some layer 1s. So the Move language, for those that aren't familiar, was built by Facebook to solve this. Bring formal verification, bring high throughput block STM at runtime, so you'll have the fastest and most secure execution environment coming to Ethereum. So Movement's job is bringing this novel virtual machine, this technology, to Ethereum through a layer 2. And we've not just done that through actually putting the Move VM on it. We actually architected some fast Finality architectures, some pre-confirmation, post-confirmation architectures, as well as built out a pretty kick-ass ecosystem, half of which this room is probably. But yeah, let me get into it. So accelerating Web3, fast post-confirmations, and the Movement ecosystem. So I'll start off by explaining what we built. Who here has used a testnet in the past? Raise your hand. Cool. So no one's actually using chains, right? Most of the testnets that we have, layer 1s, layer 2s, are pretty boring. You have a bridge, a DEX, lending protocol, a few steps, and farm the airdrop. It's actually quite boring, and there's nothing actually intuitive about it. When we designed our testnet, we're like, OK, how do we make this actually interesting that I would want to use it, my mom wants to use it, my friends want to use it. So we took a step back and gamified it. What you have in front of you is a Parthenon. If you go testnet.movementlabs.xyz right now, you can use the front end. It has over 44 apps. We just crossed 150 million transactions. So we're actually able to make it really fun and usable. Because in the past, it's like, OK, you have a few DEXs scattered across the board. It's very difficult to actually access it. So if you go and test right now, you can access all the apps, earn trophies, compete with your friends, the leaderboard, fully gamified experience. So that's one thing we did differently, where it's like, we know testnets are boring, we know it's not on-chain capital, how do we make it a little bit more fun? So shout out to the community team for organizing this. So community highlights, I think one thing that Ethereum itself has kind of struggled in is rallying this native community, right? I think Solana's done a great job with this. Now we have upcoming layer 1s that are also focusing on this. It's very evident that community is the most important thing when devising a layer 1, a layer 2, and going to market. So far, like I touched on, we just crushed tested numbers. We have one of the most active Galaxy and Discord communities. But I think beyond that, I think when people come to the Movement community, they not just have really good technology they can use, but they actually have the ability to join a community where you can make memes, you can post in Discord, you can post a Telegram. We have very, very in-depth guild programs where no matter if you're a dev, a writer, a meme maker, you're accepted, and you can have a lot of ways to interact with the community. Let's go to community meetups. Oh, go back. I think we have over 20 community meetups. The biggest communities are actually in Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia. So Asia is actually a big focus of us, and it's why we're actually going so big at KBW. We see the future of on-chain consumer, social, and just the consumer apps coming from Southeast Asia, Korea, Taiwan, and we're putting a lot of resources and efforts there. And we're seeing that so far with the apps that have come to market. Most of the volume is coming in the Asia region. Most of our community members are active in Thailand, Southeast Asia, so we're doubling down and tripling down. So about a week and a half ago, I got ratioed by Vitalik. Wasn't fun. But the thesis was, OK, we're talking about layer 2s right now in the current landscape. If you use any optimistic rollup right now, you have a 7-day withdrawal period if you're using OP Stack or Arbitrum Orbit. ZK rollups are reducing the withdrawal period, and that's 50 minutes up north of that, but still pretty expensive. If you try to use those ZK VMs and optimistic rollups today, it's pretty difficult. So we set out to roll out fast Finality rollups, but some people pushed back on the rollup architecture and wanted to call it pre-confirmations. So that's what we did. We spent the last 2 weeks, actually, all the research team grinding together, and we put together post confirmations. Before I get into that, let's talk a little bit about off-chain execution. I'll walk you through the current layer 2 landscape. When you have a transaction go to the mempool, I won't get too deep in it because I know this might be boring, but this is kind of how current architecture looks like. You have a transaction go to the mempool, you order the transactions, the executor executes the transactions, and you settle and publish transaction data as well as batch routes to ETH1. That's how traditional layer 2s go, optimistic ZK. So you have off-chain execution and an on-chain DA. That's if you're using Ethereum DA. If you're using alternative DA like Celestia, EigenDA, et cetera, you have off-chain data availability too. But you're still posting state route to ETH1. This is how we prevent malicious transactions for any layer 2 right now. You have a layer 2 rollup that publishes transaction data and batch routes to verifiers that live on L1. And the main goal of these verifiers are to verify state transitions. You can do that through fraud proofs, which take 7 days and kind of difficult to use, or you can do that through validity proofs, which are very, very expensive. So you had this scenario for ETH2s where you simply can't compete with L1s. Solana, Sui, Aptos, et cetera, all have very fast confirmation times, very fast finality. Ethereum layer 2s suffer in time to finality, which is really important for on-chain order books. If you're actually building the NASDAQ on-chain, you can't have 7-day withdrawal periods. You can't have proving times that are $5 per transaction. It's kind of difficult. So here's some comparisons between fraud and validity proofs. On the left, you have fraud proofs where you publish batch routes, 7 days to finality. 7 days to finality is kind of difficult if you're working anything on-chain that requires real-time feedback. So that has verifiers, resolvers. Then you have validity proofs that publish proofs, ZK proofs to ETH1. Issue touched on is like proving times are pretty expensive. I think the latest ZK move benchmarks we try to run was like $4 per transactions. The EVM is still pretty lower, but I would say optimistic rollups like base still cut out most ZK EVM, so it's pretty much useless. So how do you look into post confirmations? Here's kind of the architecture of where post confirmations fit in with fraud proofs and for validity proofs. So if you do kind of the math, ZK proofs are much faster. They take like 30 minutes. Fraud proofs around 1 week. We have opportunity with post confirmations to provide finality within seconds. And yes, there's some guarantees with security guarantees. You actually market it that like if you want the most amount of security, you have ZK proofs, you have fraud proofs, and you can actually use proofs with post confirmations. But the issue is that most of the apps, most of the people here, if you're building on-chain order books, or if you're building games, you don't really care about the security that you're on. In theory, if a L2 or a layer 1 has enough economic security for its native token, it's okay that you don't need to necessarily use all ETH L1 security. So we're optimizing for this world where if you're building an on-chain game, on-chain order book, a fully on-chain DEX, and you're okay with saying, I want more time to finality, I want the best UX, I'm okay sacrificing some amount of user experience, which I would say is a good amount of builders. I would say like maybe half the builders in the ecosystem don't really care about how much security, economic security they're getting. They care about, okay, how quick are the transactions, how much throughput can I notch, how secure is an app. And if we're optimizing for user experience, time to finality is the most important thing. Having withdrawal times that don't take 7 days is very, very important. So here's kind of the architecture. We just released a blog post today. If you go on Twitter, you can check out the blog. But we call it post confirmations, where instead of using fraud proofs necessarily or validity proofs, you have the ability to use stake commitments from a set of validators. And you're going to come back and say, oh, isn't the sidechain? Yeah, we rolled this out, and people are like, okay, you're relying on extra consensus. It's not necessarily a rollup or L2. My counter thesis is I don't care. I care about what's the best user experience, how can you sell state routes to Ethereum, and provide high throughput apps for Ethereum. And to that degree, we offer this for our builders. So right now, if you're a builder and you're plagued by 7-day withdrawal times, ZK proofs are too expensive for you, how do you have post confirmations that enable you to have high throughput apps fully on chain? So that's kind of what we rolled out with the research team as of today. It's architecture where you can use a set of attesters that use a stake, which is a native token, to provide confirmations for transactions. What this enables and why it's important and why you should care is right now layer 2s are losing the battle. If you look at any layer 1 right now, they're fundamentally faster, cheaper, more secure than current ETH L1 and L2s. I think most of us use Pumped Up Fund, use Solana every day. ETH L2s can't compete in performance today. So how do we make that better? First, through execution layer. We're bringing the Move VM to Ethereum. You have all the benefits of Solana, Aptos, and Sui via the Move virtual machine with parallel execution with block STM. So think about 30,000 plus TPS coming to Ethereum for the first time. Then you have a decentralized sequencer, where the biggest issue with L2s, as I'm sure you see, is loss of funds, the sequencer halting, and now you just lost your entire chain. By decentralizing sequencer, you have multiple nodes to guarantee uptime, as well as enabling interop between chains. And the last thing what we're rolling out is, like, if you're a builder and you need instant finality, and you need the ability to launch a custom chain, you can use post confirmations, and for the first time, have seconds finality instead of days. And that's kind of the work we're doing. Obviously, it's experimental. Obviously, there's a lot of work left to be done. But I think this is where the direction is heading, where finally Ethereum builders feel confident in saying, look, I'm OK with not being Ethereum aligned per se. I want to push the boundaries. I want to test out different things. And post confirmations is one of examples. Some benefits, obviously fast confirmation. On a tokenomics point of view, you can actually have a set of testers that stake the native token and use the native token for security. So all those L2 governance tokens that end up being meme coins, that's not possible with this architecture, because you actually have to use a token for economic security of the testers. They stake the token, you have validators. Think L1 tokenomics on L2s. So that's what we're pushing forward. Reduce costs, very scalable systems. So if you're building like order books, very computationally expensive, deep in projects, which I'll get into, you need instant finality, you need high throughput, and that's not possible in Ethereum today. So why move in? On DeFi, I touched on it, but we've all been hacked, scammed, rugged before. What gets me up and going is like when I talk to my mom about, why don't you use DeFi, why don't you put money in Aave? The biggest questions that come up is, how secure is it? Am I going to get hacked? And I don't really have a good answer for them. It's this $4.5 billion loss every year, re-entry, integer overflows. The biggest attacks today are all math issues, basically. Imagine like Kyber attack, curve attack. These are all integer overflows, arithmetic errors. They're because of human error. You simply cannot fix that unless you actually have formal verification runtime. For those that don't know, formal verification is what you do when you go to auditor and say, hey, can you audit my code? And they go through each line, make sure it's fine. But the issue is that you can't keep doing that. It's expensive, you're gonna have mistakes. What Move does is brings formal verification at runtime. So when you execute code, it checks, hey, is there a resource issue? Is there a type issue? Is memory safety issue? It's much more secure. There has not been a hack yet on Move yet. And you can argue there's not enough volume, but there's over $1 billion now in the Move ecosystem, and still hasn't been hacked, knock on wood. Gaming, in addition to having high throughput, we all know about parallelization, the hot narrative, and how do you bring fully scalable systems on the execution layer. But you have the ability to dynamic NFTs, where, let's say, for example, you're a game builder, you're minting 1,000 NFTs. On the EVM right now, you have to mint and burn an NFT each time you upgrade state, which is pretty expensive, pretty slow. With Move, you can swap out traits at will. So you kill 1,000 zombies. You can swap out the mag, swap out the caliber within the smart contract itself. So you don't actually have the UX that other developers have. With optimistic parallelization, you have better developer contention. I won't get too technical, but if you're a developer and you want to optimize for parallelization, Move and block STM is the best way to do it. There's actually a few other chains that are using block STM. I believe Monad's using a variation of that. Obviously, Move chains and future parallelized chains are going to be using block STM as the best consensus engine. Yeah. Now let's talk about ecosystem and kind of what gets me more excited. So we've been spending a lot of time on ecosystem building. My thesis is there's a lot of L1s, L2s. You guys are probably bored of hearing the same pitch of faster, cheaper, more secure. But things that we all build infrastructure and there's no apps live. There's no actually cool infrastructure. But one thing that us and the BE team and the growth team has done is doing events like this, working with builders, and cultivating novel use cases. Two of them I'll shout out right now. One of them is Sentiment. I'm wearing a bracelet right now. They do fully on-chain jewelry. So imagine I'm gifting my mom or my brother or my wife a memory. Now I can finally put that on-chain and put that on a bracelet. It's on my brand right now. Every single sentiment is on-chain and verified with the Movement blockchain. So we've spent a lot of time with the team on how you bring on-chain NFTs, high throughput capacities to Ethereum. And this stuff, consumer stuff, that's not really techy, that my mom probably would use, but the technical researcher probably wouldn't use. But we're spending a lot of time there. Another one I'm excited about is Up Network. You guys all heard of Solana Saga. We're rolling out a phone with the Up Network team on bringing fully on-chain mobile to the Ethereum ecosystem. Imagine all the phones in your hands with the Movement wallet coming day zero. And it's right in my hands right now, where you can use any Movement app, any DeFi app on Ethereum on your phone with the Razor wallet, with any native Movement wallet. So two examples of some cool deepen projects we're working on. Obviously, DeFi is a big use case and something we're spending a lot of time with, where if you're using DeFi on Ethereum right now, it's slow, it's expensive, you're getting hacked. We want to be the home for DeFi on Ethereum such that you have low transaction fees, you have high throughput, and you can finally trust the systems. We announced over $160 million in TVL to Movement ecosystem. And this is coming from LPs that have been bitten, stabbed, by getting hacked from lack of security. For the first time, these teams and LPs can put money on chain and get insurance to back up the yield because there's no smart contract risk. You don't have to worry about getting hacked because it's fully verified end-to-end. So in front of you is some of the great apps. All of these are live on testnet, so you go to testnet.movementlabs.xyz/apps. You can check out some of the great builders and software that we have. Many of them in the crowd here. We're doing events, so please stop by and meet them. But yeah. Ecosystem highlights, I think we crossed over 218 buildings. You can check all the board. What's really interesting is that it's not just Move teams. I'm sure you're going to say it back like, oh, Move is young, Move is underdeveloped, there's no one building on it. But the thing is that it's a lot like Solana in the first 4 years. If you look at Solana in the first 2 years, you had Solid, you had 3 apps, not that much of an ecosystem. Until recently, that's when the tide shifted. Move is going to be the next narrative, where you have 2 multi-billion-dollar chains right now, and Move coming to market as well, pushing forward this language that was built by Facebook, such that we're bringing the Move ecosystem to Ethereum, but also the EVM ecosystem with our Move EVM. So if you're a Solidity developer, you can deploy on top of Movement, fully transpile your EVM bytecode to Move, and exist. If you're a Move builder from Apple Suite and you also want to go cross-chain and bring in Ethereum liquidity, you can do that too. So we aim to be the hub and the overlap between the Move ecosystem, the Ethereum ecosystem, and the EVM ecosystem. And we've done that so far in the ecosystem we're building and the partners we brought on. I think this is what gets me excited and kind of happy. When me and Cooper started Movement, it was just 2 kids in a dorm room, just like wishing for a better movie system. And today it's truly a movement. We're seeing meetups across Indonesia, Thailand, Africa, Korea was last week. But it puts a smile on my face to see people not only care about the tech, but the community. Because ultimately, there's going to be another chain come out in 6 months. There's going to be another chain come out in 12 months. But what brings people together is the community and feeling part of something bigger, feeling part of a movement. And I think that's what gets all of us out of bed. It's kind of difficult to do. Obviously, waking up every day and competing with everyone else is kind of difficult, but you do it for the people, and the people are real, right in front of us. And last but not least, I'll kind of get into the work we're doing with accelerator programs. Some of you guys may be builders who are interested about Movement, interested about Move, or interested about crypto. Maybe some of you guys are new. I think in the past, it's been really kind of difficult for new developers to come to the ecosystem and get support. When we were early developers, it was kind of difficult to get connect to the foundations, get grants, learn how to even build an ecosystem. So one thing we're launching is the Move Collective, which is accelerator design to support the most projects in the ecosystem. Most of my time these days is spent day-to-day helping projects raise, get to market, build community, and be bigger than us. My goal as a founder is for every project in the ecosystem to be bigger than us. I don't want anyone to know about Movement. I want people to know about our apps. And the Collective is designed to do that. I want to highlight 3 teams that have already raised capital. Some of them may be here. Nexio is moving on Bitcoin. Link, they're also here. They're bringing a fully mobile consumer rollup. And Echelon is a lending protocol, so safe yields for your capital. There's around 7 more that I don't think we've announced yet, but are coming next week and the week after. But they may be in the crowd too, so please stop by. For the program, Move mentorship, direct support from our foundation, us personally, helping day to day. We have in-person events, so you saw some of the Korea events, some of the Africa events. We're doing events all across China and Southeast Asia, so just feel free to check those out. As well as just generally feeling part of a bigger mission. It's not just like deploy DEX and call it a day. You're part of a family here. We want to help you day to day and put everything online for you. So that's all we got. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming to Korea, and thank you for moving the stage. It's an honor, and looking forward to the rest of KBW.